Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today. Your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the some of the media articles around that refer to the upcoming US presidential election, where they claim, rather disingenuously, I think, but they claim that the best educated people, and they don't define educated, for example, is it a degree in lesbian dance theory? Is it some bullshit African-American studies sociology degree? But anyway, they claim that the most educated people, this is university educated people, vote Kamala, and the dumbass hicks vote Trump. So now this is something that's been around for a while. Hillary Clinton's sort of propaganda team were pushing this as well. You know, if you're a socially superior educated person if you vote for Hillary, but you're a dumbass hick Nazi fascist bigot if you vote Trump, this sort of thing. It even goes further than that. You know, you see numerous articles around on social media that Republicans are all Nazis. So there's not a whole lot of discernment or fact finding that's going on in those sort of articles and pieces, but nonetheless, you know, there are, for example, in Australia's premier government funded broadcaster, there are typically anywhere between 2 or 3 hit pieces against Trump every day, and they constantly bring this up that you know, intelligent people vote Kamala or vote Democrat. Now, so let's do a breakdown on this. There's a few stats around, but even the most generous says that 60% of college-educated people vote Democrat and would vote Kamala is the claim at least, and 40% Trump. So it's hardly a universal thing. It's not like 99% of college-educated vote one way or another. So 60-40s. Now these are people who supposedly have like post grad qualifications such as masters and PhDs or additional degrees, 2 degrees, for example. So those people are 60-40, give or take. It's 60-40. Now, when you start coming just to people that have 4-year degrees, it's sort of 55-45, or 3-year degrees, 55-45. By the time it gets to sort of 2-year degrees, I'm not sure you really call them degrees. They're more advanced diplomas, I would argue. Anyway, the 2-year college courses, then the numbers are pretty even, slightly in favor of sort of Republicans at that point. Then when you look at people who've just graduated high school, so their highest educational attainment is senior high school diplomas. They're, again, not huge. It's sort of 60-40 for Trump. When you look at people, or 55-45, 60-40 in that range, then when you look at people that have sort of dropped out of high school at, say, 15, so they just got maybe a junior high school diploma, or maybe not even that, then that's more, they're like 60 to 65 to 35-40 type range for Trump. So when you do another subdivision by women, then more in total proportion, more women are voting for, and particularly in the case of college, women degree holders are like 70-30, say, in favor, or 75-25, even in some of them, in favor of the Democrats or Kamala in this case. Now, various interviews with particularly women who are brown, they say, well, will you vote Kamala? Oh, yeah, well, she's brown and she's a woman, so of course I'm going to vote for her. Well, what are her policies that you support? Oh, I don't know, policies, schmolicies, I don't know what you're talking about. She's brown and she's a woman. I mean, who gives a fuck? That's why I'm voting. So there's not much discernment goes in. So that's the quality of analysis that young women with college degrees have. But if you sort of drill down a little bit further and you separate out, because I mean, try and sort of remember that because there's a constant thing saying, look how many women go to university. Oh, men are falling behind. Women are so educated. Women are so educated. I mean, when you take out the sociology courses such as gender studies and this sort of thing, and lesbian dance theory and all that sort of crap, when you take that out, then women very quickly can become a minority of college kids. If you look at the serious courses that are being studied, it's overwhelmingly being studied by men. So it's only the bullshit courses, the bullshit sociology, nobody fails courses that are being studied by women. So women are hugely, hugely overrepresented, and those women particularly are the sociology courses. They're heavily indoctrinated by, all men are Nazis, the patriarchy, misogyny, and this sort of stuff, victimhood, and so on. So they're very much encouraged and indoctrinated in that view. So unsurprisingly, they vote for the political parties and people that most underwrite that worldview and most support it. But we shouldn't construe this means that they're intelligent or educated or anything, far from it. They got waved through from junior. Nearly all of these women that are doing sociology courses have sub 100 IQs. So this idea that they're highly educated is absurd, beyond absurd. These are women who would have flunked out of junior high school and would have become hairdressers or working in retail stores, and so which they end up doing anyway, even after they've got their sociology degrees and a huge debt into the bargain. So we need to separate indoctrination from education, also separate soft bullshit courses from serious courses. Now, on top of that, women, even when they do serious courses, and I've graded, I've helped some women, friends of my wife, I've helped them do could go through their essay or thesis or something with them, and trying to help them do a better job, like editing it and so on. And what I didn't realize until fairly recently, in the last few years, that there are now, in every serious area of study, women are given the option of, and this is a women-only thing, women are given the option of, say they're studying, I don't know, fucking chemistry or something. So they're given the option of, how do you think the study of chemistry has affected the lives of women in modern society? Now you can't fail something like that. Nobody fails. So women are given that option. They've got an easy way out, a guaranteed pass, and they don't have to address the course material. They don't have to actually show that they know anything about physics or chemistry or anything like that. You see it not so much in the hard sciences like pure maths. I don't know if it's in there, but you see it in things like political economy and international relations, marketing, business, and all that sort of stuff. That's shot through with these sort of questions. So any woman can take the easy way out and just answer, take that question. What's the effect on international business or international politics on women? Or lesbian women can say, what is the effect on lesbian women, and so on. So they're given all these easy, easy questions where everybody passes. And so when they get their degree, and their degree looks the same as someone that's busted their ass and who's expert in the course material, the woman has the same degree. You can't tell the two. Now, I've interviewed women engineers, or been part of a panel of interviewing women engineers, and the difference in quality between the women engineers and the young men who've done it it's like chalk and cheese, really. It's the men have passed the course. They have mastered the intricacies of the engineering issues. The women haven't. They've been gifted the degree. So we need to keep all that in perspective when we look at this supposedly educated. Now, when you're dealing with public servants or quangos or people in NGOs, and they're all about the same, actually. There's a conga line that just rotates around. I went to a meeting recently where it was a quango, and they're all public servants. And instead of greeting you and saying hello and dealing with the issues of what you're there to talk about, instead, and particularly the women here, much more than the men, but nonetheless, the female public servants, they're opening. Oh, hello, Billy Bob. Where did you go to university? Where did you? Oh, you went there. Oh, do you know Professor so and so? And that's the handshake. That's the public servant NGO quango handshake. That's it. Once they've got your name, it's only there as a vehicle to ask you which university you went to. and they believe themselves to be an absolute educated genius, high IQ elite. And I sit down with these morons who've got their gender studies degree or their lesbian dance theory degree, sit down thinking that they're the intellectual elites of the universe. And they're nothing of the sort. So we need to come to grips, I guess, with I would argue we need to come to grips with that when we talk about what is this, the highly educated people, the higher intelligence and so on. Now, they even suggest in some of these things that higher IQ people vote Democrat. But if you say anything about IQ along racial lines or something like that, then you're denounced as a racist, Nazi, fascist bigot. But if you say it in terms of putting down your own fellow citizens and saying, well, they're all idiots because they vote for the Republicans, then that's quite acceptable, apparently. So when we actually strip away the sociology degrees and the affirmative action degrees, of which there are very many these days, then the picture changes somewhat, and it starts to actually move the other way. That majority of people with a real education who've earned their education, they actually do vote Republican. The majority of people have been gifted affirmative action degrees, and again, they're in the majority now. Affirmative action degrees, affirmative action PhDs, for that matter. All affirmative action recipients pretty much vote Democrat. People who actually worked for what they have vote Republican. And that's the divide we're looking at here. That is the divide. It's not the divide between idiots and geniuses or high IQ and low IQ. So this depiction of Trump voters are all, retarded varmints from the Appalachian hillbilly community. So that's bullshit, absolute bullshit. And, people that I mean, looking again at the, this level of education thing and its relevance. I go to these dinner parties that are, or lunch gatherings, barbecues, and where most of the people are judges and, lawyers, rich lawyers, and they, they all live in their waterfront properties and they all drive $200,000 cars and all that sort of, these people, I'm not in that league, by the way. If I look at them generally, they've all been to the wealthiest private schools. So they've had an Ivy League education. Sometimes I wonder, they went to the Ivy League universities getting their degrees in law in the case of judges and so on. But when I look at, listen to them and, at the table, and I've got to be a little cautious because I don't want to sort of sound like I'm a Trump advocate or something like that. Otherwise, I'd never be invited again, I don't think. But in fact, the invitations have slowed down considerably when I pointed out that Trump had some valid concerns over the 2020 election. That was enough to get me disinvited. That's all I had to say. There were some questions about it. So when I look at these people, they all went to A-grade schools, A-grade. I didn't. I didn't go to an A-grade school. I went to a third-tier university. So, I'm not in their league in terms of. I'm not in their position in terms of social status associated with that. But I can't say any of them because I'm sure they've had a good education. I don't doubt it. I don't, and well done to them. But that's more a reflection of family wealth and that sort of thing than it is anything else. But nonetheless, they've gone through schools at a time when merit actually was applied. So they've passed and they've got their degrees and the like. And so they're, in that sense, better educated than I am. But what happens once they come out of university? They go into a network of sort of cronyism and patronage, these people. None of them have ever had to apply for a job. None of them have ever been held to account for their performance. None of them have ever had to deliver results through their own hard work and labor. So none of them have actually had to produce, create, or build anything. Everything has been delivered to them through the patronage network, through their social status and things like that. So because of that, they see the world very differently, and they see people who are prepared to work for a living and do the hard grind, the hard graft as being somehow vulgar. If you can't get what you want by a phone call to a well-connected friend, then you're a nobody if you can't do that. And this very much permeates their overall attitude. And if I mention anything about working hard and this and that and accountability and so on, I get looks from the corner of the eye. I think, oh, he's just, he's a little plebeian, but we tolerate him, that type of thing. And this is how they view the Trump voters. And they see themselves an elite that aren't accountable, don't have to be accountable. They're morally in a social status situation where they don't have to be accountable, don't need to be accountable, and where accountability is in itself rather vulgar. And accountability, to whatever extent it should exist, is for the masses, not for them. And the morally superior people aren't accountable, and their moral superiority is they wear like a shield around them. But really, it's just a non-accountability and that they've existed and done very well out of the crony economy and the crony networks. That's all that means. And I wouldn't employ any of them. There's not a single lawyer there. I mean, there's not a single lawyer that ever turns out that I'd ever fucking use. They just seem useless to me. I don't say that, and I make no comment. And none of the big paying clients they have, they seem to have won on any form of merit. The people who are CEOs of the companies, they've been gifted those roles, through a patronage system, which is tantamount to a sort of a form of affirmative action in some ways. And they're richly rewarded for doing as they're told, but they're not accountable for delivering results or carrying the heavy loads or anything like that. So none of these people are, I would say, deserving to be at the apex. Now, that may always have been going on throughout history, buddies looking after each other, all that sort of stuff, and I accept that. But coming back to this idea of the bright people, once we take away the bullshit courses, the affirmative action degrees, we take away all that sort of stuff, which has exploded over the last 30 to 40 years. Once we take that away, then it swings back to the majority of educated people are actually voting Republican if they're doing real courses and real jobs, real work, and so on. And that's something that you can, if you put the work in, you can actually tease out of those statistics. You've been a task for us today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.